QuickBooks Pro Desktop 2021. Tax line mapping, tax entry for meals, formerly known as meals and entertainment. Let's get into it with Intuit's QuickBooks Pro Desktop 2021. Here we are in our test tax mapping practice file within QuickBooks. We currently have the open windows open. You can open the open windows by going to the view dropdown, selecting the open windows list. In prior presentations, we generated a trial balance, profit and loss, and balance sheet. We exported the trial balance directly from QuickBooks to both the tax software, in our case this being Lacerte owned by Intuit, the same owners of QuickBooks, and we exported it to Excel, letting Lacerte then populate and calculate the tax return with the data input, and then using Excel basically to do our adjusting entries to reconcile what is on the tax return to what is on the books. What's on the books currently $100,000 for the profit and loss. What's on the tax return? If I go to the forms up top, Schedule C, it's currently the 116,582. One of the differences being this home office deduction. Now we'll go to the other common line item difference, that being meals, which formerly was known as meals and entertainment, still in QuickBooks as meals and entertainment, but there's been some tax law changes with entertainment, so be careful with entertainment. It might be different, relatively new, different there. And so the same kind of thing applies to the meals, but most people that do any taxes have memorized that meals and entertainment, on the general rule, you get like 50% of it. And that has automatically been calculated as we populated it into the Lacerte. So Lacerte mapped on over, and when I look at the meals then over here, I'm going to say, oh, there's the meals, it's 2,000. And when I mapped it over on the trial balance, let's take a look at the trial balance then. Here's what mapped over on the trial balance into Lacerte, directly into the Cert, and I'm looking for the meals, which is right here. And it was at 4,000, of course, that mapped over. So once again, notice that Lacerte did the adjustment. It mapped it because we mapped it from this 4,000 using our tax mapping into the line item for meals and entertainment, 50% meals, and therefore it did the calculation for us. But it didn't give us our adjustment, right? If I look at my trial balance over here, all I have is the book net income. I don't see the adjustment to tax net income or anything. So it's not really doing the same kind of reconciling work I would like it to do. That's why I don't think it can replace really the Excel worksheet completely. It can save some data input time if used properly. So now let's just do that adjustment, and we can do our reconciliation basically in Excel. Again, you could do this on the bottom of the trial of the profit and loss report, just to show the differences if you want, if it's nice and not too much going on. But I'd rather do it in Excel so that I can still have that double entry of balancing system. So I'm going to close this back out. I'm going to go into Excel. I'm going to go into the second tab and just enter one transaction at a time. So here's the last one we entered. And so now I'm going to enter another one. And this one is going to be for the meals. So the meals, I need to reduce them. Again, I'm going to put the credit on top because I think it's just easier to think about the account that we need to adjust and put it on top. So that one's the one I need to fix. I need to credit it to make it go down for 50% of the meals. So I'm going to say negative of that 4,000 times 0.5 or 50%, just 50% of it, which of course would be 2,000. I need to reduce that, so I'm just going to record that and do what I need to do. I'm going to say, okay, this should just be equal to then the 2,000, which will make it go down to 2,000. Now, where am I going to put the other side? In this one, there's nothing up top I can really put it to. I can say, the meals were, a deduction for business purposes. It's a tax change now. So again, I'm going to go down here and add a line item on the bottom in a similar way as we did with the home office for our adjustments. I'm going to select these 3 or 4 cells, right-click on them, insert, and shift them down. I'm then going to format like the cells above it. So I'm going to select the cells above it, go to the Home tab, Paintbrush, and I'm going to paintbrushy these ones. And so there we have it. And then I'm going to put this one to the meals adjustment. And so there we have it. I'm going to put a 0 here and then drag this formula down so it copies it across. So we have then that. And then the meals adjustment, I'm going to put here right underneath. I'm going to put the debit on the bottom. And so that might disturb some people. So hopefully, no one gets too upset or anything because, I don't want to cause any problems. But then that's going to be the 2,000 debit. And then if we then post this thing out, posting the other side would then go down here to put us back in balance. So this equals the other side back in balance. Now, if it's not back in balance, that's because you got to adjust these columns. This one's adding up totally. This one is not including the new one that we added. So I can double click on it and I can drag it down, make sure it adds up everything. And this one is not adding that 2000, so I'm going to double click on it and make sure it adds everything. And there we have it. And then over here, this one's summing up. We could bring this all the way down just to show the difference, even though these items below will be 0. So I could drag that all the way down. This one's going to stop at the yellow numbers. This one stops at the yellow numbers. So that means that these two will help us to be in balance. That's our reconciling items, but they're not being included in the net income for taxes. These are kind of like what in like a full tax return for like a Schedule C or corporation would be like, kind of like M1 deductions or not M1 deductions, adjustments in one type of adjustments. These are the adjustments that we're basically making so that we can see that reconciliation process, and that's our reconciliation components. So these two are the reconciliation items, these two here, and we can add them up basically this way and see the change, which is that 16,582, and this way. So now I'm going to delete these two items on the bottom. We're at the 116,582. If I go back to Lacert, then I see the difference. So there it is, the 116,582. So now we've got our reconciliation. So that's, I think, the best method to use for this exporting. So it does save time if you work the exporting into the QuickBooks system, because I think you can then make it correct on a book basis in QuickBooks, do your adjusting entries, enter them into QuickBooks, then export it to Lacert, which will save you data input time. And then you still need to do some kind of reconciliation worksheet, either printing out the profit and loss and just writing down your adjustments on the bottom, which means, you can just write this at the bottom of your P&L instead of doing this entire worksheet, just basically saying, here are the two reconciling items. Or you can do a nice worksheet like this to kind of formalize it, which gives you more assurance, given the fact that you still are seeing this reconciling item. You're seeing it probably a little bit more clearly. You're forced to kind of make sure it all ties out. Now, there could be other adjustments. These are just some examples. The other thing we were going to think about doing is adjust the contributions. So remember that I added the contributions into other expenses just to see if I can get this tying out. And oftentimes when I do the data input by hand, what I'll typically do is try to get this number to basically tie out first and then go back and do my adjustments in Excel. So if you do it this way, then you have to basically import what you need to import, and then you got to have an idea in your mind what Lacert is going to do to try to help you, such as this meals and entertainment and the depreciation, the auto, and the home office. And then you got to go in there and try to figure out what that difference is. It's a little bit different of a technique. If there's a whole lot of changes, it's a little bit more difficult to do that, to back into what the changes are. If there's just a few, then it'll save you time with the data input. So next time, we'll take a look at that last one and adjust that item that was put into charitable contributions. We'll remove it there and do another adjusting entry for that.